All right, folks, the Can-am needs a bit of love. The old winch has not been working for a long time. It's time to dig in and see if we can get this thing figured out. Okay, well, it's time to get this quad winch fixed. The snow right now, it's winter time obviously, and the snow is really sticky and wet. So this having the ability to pull this thing out is mandatory right now. Anyways, I started going through and trying to figure out why I was just getting a clicking sound when I hit the button on the winch, and it was just going kind of click, 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 click. So started getting into it. I found some really dirty connections on the winch itself. So pulled that all apart, got it all cleaned up and looking good. Got her back together. I was hoping that was the problem, but it wasn't. Up in here, where you can see right here, there's something missing. That's where the winch relay goes. And that's where the clicking sound was coming from. So I started giving that the same treatment, pulling it apart, and I'll show you what happened. So I started pulling it apart and trying to clean it up. Most of these connections look pretty good, but the this one here, which goes on the main power feed right there, as I went to undo it, you can tell it's very rusty. As I went to undo that one there, you can see the bolt in there, it just broke off. And that's when I knew I was in the market for a new relay. Let's flip this thing open. Make sure they look the same. Yeah, it looks pretty gosh darn similar. Get some of this anti-seize stuff and put her on there. I don't know what's going to happen with this quad. I might be down at the Oregon dunes ripping down the beach in a month. I mean, who knows, you know? So pretty nice to not have it all rusty and stuck together the next time I pull it apart. Take a picture of it before you pull it apart. I did that. I got a frame of reference as to what wires go where. I've put a bit of this anti-seize on all of it, got it all tightened up and connected, took another picture of it and just compared it back to back with the other one. And I think I can hook up the battery and give it a try. Okay, moment of truth. Definitely a little nervous. Oh no, it's still clicking. Ah, this sucks. No. Okay, well, I've discovered that the winch is not working. I tried putting 12 volts to it, tried putting a meter on it, and I don't think that it's working. This is a basic quality Champion one, 2,500 pounds. It looks really crusty and stuff in there. So I'm gonna try and pull this apart and just see, you know, if there's something obvious. New winches for quads are actually a lot cheaper than I thought, and I might just try and get another cheap one and throw it on there, but let's just continue pulling this apart and see what happens. So this little planetary gear here is kind of stuck in there. I think I might be kind of looking at this from the wrong end though. I mean, I doubt it's the gearing side of things. Obviously, it's the electrical side of things, so I should probably try and figure out how to get this end of it off. Okay, so I had disconnected, the two bolts going in here. I disconnected, but just started pulling on this and realized that this wasn't, oh yeah, so it would have been held together by the bolts, but there's no real gasket or anything in there. So I don't see what was keeping water out of this, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so the stud from this side that goes through, it's basically like a square-headed nut, and it touches against that cable. So there's continuity from this to there and to two of these connectors. Now over on this side, this stud going through is very corroded in there. And as a result, there's no continuity between this wire here and that stud because of how rusty that is. So the next thing I got to try and figure out is how to get that out of there. It's a little bit tough to reach. Dang, you know, I just had a realization. I think these wires here were supposed to be connected to those square nuts. It almost looks like it was soldered on there at one time. This one's so corroded. Sorry, it's so hard to light down there that you can't even tell that it was connected. But now that's the next question. Do I try to reconnect those? Yeah, I mean, that's obviously the problem with the winch. The next question is it fixable? All right, for those of you, unlike me, who know what you're doing around electrical stuff or have experience with this, you'll have to excuse my ignorance. I'm pretty sure that there's a seam here and that these two parts separate. Now, if I can get at just this bottom thing, that opens up all kinds of possibilities. And I would bet that I can probably have access to fix that. So that's gonna be my next little challenge. Eureka, okay. Didn't really take much at all to get that thing off. I put this in the vise very gently. I know that getting that out of round is going to be a huge problem, but got that thing apart, and now we have got options. All right, so on closer inspection, I'm noticing that the wires on this side, which is not the problematic side, that was the good one, they're not looking that great. So I'm not expecting miracles here. The next thing I'm going to try and do is get those bolts out of there and get them cleaned up, because nothing can happen with that one all rusty and disgusting. Let's just give her a try. Really got nothing to lose. I mean, a new winch isn't that expensive. I would say probably I'll get through this and I could get her working again. This is actually kind of fun. I've always been horrified of electrical stuff and never pulled anything like this apart, and it's kind of neat. Next problem is that bolt will not go out. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this little apparatus here is probably glued in. So I'm just going to have to clean it in there, which is no big deal. All right, now I'm going to just take a bit of sandpaper and slotted screwdriver, just wrap it around that and just kind of go back and forth. And actually, why don't I use a file? That would probably make more sense. Okay, looking much better. It would have been so nice to pull that bolt right out of there and just zap it with a wire wheel, but I'm worried about trying to remove this thing. I think it's just plastic and something will probably break, but who knows? All right, folks, we've suffered a terrible setback. I realized I don't have a soldering iron, so trying to get my blowtorch in here is going to be really tough to solder with. And I just barely touched this with a set of MIG pliers. Just kind of put it across there to give it just a little wiggle and see if it's glued or just kind of dried on there, and boom, it just completely exploded. So how big of a problem is that? I mean, at the end of the day, everything is still where it ought to be. I just have to figure out if I can glue it into place or something. I mean, I really don't have much to lose. So I've got some Gorilla Glue, or actually I've got this really good Permatex super glue. So if I just kind of hose it down in there and keep those in place, that will probably work. Okay, so this is a solid core silver wire solder. I don't know if this is the right stuff or not. It's what I've got, and because this project, I'm not too worried about it. I'm just gonna give it a try. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And you know, this is all just for fun, so no big deal. Okay, well, that was a total fail. Just kind of bunched up on there. Here's the piece here. It definitely is not connecting to the metal. So I'm gonna have to do a little research. Possibly I can just glue it on there or something, or I'm really not sure how you would solder to a steel bolt. I should have known from welding that it's gonna be a challenge. Maybe I just have the wrong stuff. I don't know, we'll see. Now for my next attempt, I'm gonna try, actually I might just try it on a bolt. I'm gonna try and really heat a bolt up. Possibly if I put a lot of heat on this, then maybe it will accept the solder better. So let's try that. Let's do a little test run. Here's some random bolt. Let's see if we can get solder to stick to that. I don't think that's even in the ballpark of being hot enough to let that stay in there. It's probably just sitting on top of it. Yeah, no. Definitely not gonna work. Okay, on to something else. Okay, next we're gonna see if I put a little blob of weld over top of a piece of wire, will that hold it in place? Okay, so I got my bolt back in here. Got a piece of wire. I'm gonna try and just see what happens. This might be a dumb idea, it might work. I'm gonna try and just put a little blast of weld on there, and does it connect it? Let's see. I'm not really expecting this to work. I'm sure there is a proper technique out there. We're just trying stuff here. It's no big deal. Whatever happens, happens. All right, well, here goes nothing. It's probably a dumb idea, but let's just see what happens. Wow, that totally worked. I don't know what the long-term whatever, the wire looks a little burnt there and stuff, but like that is completely connected to it. So that is very surprising. I would have given that about a 35% chance of actually working. Let's try it on the thing and see if we can do it. All right, we're gonna try this for real. Not sure if I mentioned, but I glued the plastic things back on. This is the damaged one over here where the wire had actually split. This other one is still one piece. So let's start with the bad one, make sure we can get that first. Got the springs back in there and cautiously optimistic here. I just remembered, I gotta think how the welder is gonna be able to make a ground. So I've got this in here lightly in the vise. So I will put the ground clamp from the welder onto this. That should be able to get through there. Wish me luck. Yeah, I just have to turn this light away because it's setting off my auto darkening helmet. Oh, yeah, it's so hard to see in there. I might just have to kind of close my eyes. Holy crap, I cannot believe this is working. That is hilarious. Well, there you go. It's welded on there. I did not expect to be welding this thing together today. This one was really challenging. It probably looks more roomy than it is, but you can see that square bolt kind of right here. It's kind of on the top of that. I don't think it went through that insulation there, so I'm hoping that we are a-okay. I think it probably should be. Anyways, let's switch it around and jump over to the next side. Okay, I got this all lined up. Springs are in, everything's ready to go. Yeah, let's go ahead and give her a tack and hopefully she's good to go. Yeah, unfortunately, it's just so precise in there where the wire has to be that I just can't use a helmet, so I will just give it a tack and look the other way. Okay, this one looks firmly connected as well. I'm sure there are better ways of doing this. I'm sure that the wire and everything else has probably been prematurely aged by having that crazy amount of heat on it. However, this thing's basically worthless. You can go buy a brand new one of these for about 150 bucks Canadian plus tax and shipping. I actually saw one on Amazon for $90 of a different brand and a slightly lower weight rating. Okay, I just had to review the video and I'm glad I did. My instinct was to say that that side goes in, but when you think about it, these magnets are probably having something to do with that. And the length of those is about right. So putting that on that way is going to be the way. Okay, now, is there any bolts that need to line up? So I'm going to say probably it goes like this. Okay. All right, so we will clean this up a little. Some RTV on there. Away we go. My theory with RTV is more is better than, or too much is better than not enough. I've definitely had some comments, people talking about how messy and ridiculous my RTV jobs are, and you're right. Reality is though, I'd rather have a big glob of it poking out and have the thing sealed than make it look real nice and not sealed. Now let's drop this back down. Okay. And where did I put that? Right here again. So that goes magnet side in. Okay, that is up, that goes in. All right. And now we can move on to the brains of the operation over here. Okay, now this one is also going to need silicone, so I'm going to clean this up. I have a sneaking suspicion this is going to be very challenging, but we'll see. Oh, did I get it? Oh, I think I did. Next up, I already got some anti-seize on there. Not sure if you guys can see that. Oh wow, that one might be starting too. Okay, I guess that wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, it's threading in. All right, now, in retrospect, pulling apart the gear side of this was pretty short-sighted and unnecessary. I mean, I knew I had an electrical problem, so I don't know why I even thought that pulling that apart was a good idea, but that's what happens when you're doing something for the first time. There are some remnants of old grease in there, but if I had to guess, I would say that the gear side of this winch has probably had a lot more water in there. Yeah, I mean, you look at that metal there, like that is not a gasket. I don't see any remnants of an old sealer of any kind, so I feel like this one has definitely had water. I don't think there's many parts in there that are super rusty though. Everything kind of seems okay, so that's a good sign. Anyways, let's hose her down and get some grease in there. Oh shoot, is this grease gun empty? All right, I found grease gun number 2. So we are good to go. Okay, now I got to do this cap thing. This actually works very similar to a like a worn locking hub, where basically you spin it and it just kind of pushes the gear in and out, and that's what engages. Kind of neat. Makes sense, it's really doing the exact same thing. Okay, so I got that nice and greasy. I've got, can't really see it, but tons of grease in there. Okay, on second thought, I am not going to put any grease around this outside. Everything should get greased up when I put it together, but the big thing is I want to keep this surface clean for RTV, because I think sealing is a bit more important than you know, the amount of times I move that in and out of gear. It's full of grease in there. It should be able to grease itself. So RTV, let's go. Oh, that sucks. Okay, well, let's take a step back and figure it out. Okay, I think I know what's going on. Basically, when I had this side open, I turned it manually a little bit, and I think it changed the way the gears were lining up with this planetary thing in here. So I'm gonna test it right now. I mean, regardless of whether this cover's on, if it's gonna work, it should work. So let's put some power to it and see what happens. All right, moment of truth. I'm just doing this off of a battery charger, so I don't know if that's ideal or not. Let's see what happens. Yes! Okay, that was not happening before. It's fixed electrically, we just got to get it fixed mechanically. Yeah, she's definitely turning. Woo! Okay, so that did just slide into place. I think that I probably didn't need to do that. Basically, you line up the gear and then you rotate this outer cover to get the bolts working. Either way though, huge victory. Let's get some anti-seize on these. Okay, there she is, all good to go. I'm gonna put it in and just make sure all the switching and stuff works. But I mean, everything should be good and greased up and working nice. Very exciting. Okay, winch is all mounted back in there. Wires are all hooked up, never sees and stuff on everything. So, moment of truth. Kind of nervous. Huh. Well, it's making different noises. Let me just make sure it's in gear. Okay, well, this is really a bittersweet ending to this. It is putting power to the winch, and when I have to have it running, but you know, it is trying to move, but I think it might be like jammed up or something like that. So the next thing I'm gonna do is trying to like put the winch in freewheel and try to like forcefully remove all the cable and just see if it's jammed up or something like that. But it's very possible this winch has got problems on the gear side of things, but we will see. All right, well, it's a few days later. I've tried running the winch a couple times and like the lights really dim down and it just doesn't seem like there's enough power maybe, or I'm not actually sure, but it also won't freewheel. So right now I'm gonna hook the winch up to my truck and then just try and back up and see if we can at least yank the cable out of there. I'll pull the winch back out, put it on the vise, and see if we can get something going. All right, let's try it off my bumper. Okay, wow, that was a battle. The thing was obviously seized or buggered up or something. I really had to tug at it to get that thing to go. Now let's try and winch in and see if it'll pull us to the truck. Yeah, no, it just wants to stall it. Wow, that is really surprising. Now there's a check engine light blinking when I try to run the winch. Yeah, something is not happy in there. It's drawing way too much current for some reason or something. Well, check engine light's gone now. Yeah, I'm gonna have to put this thing back on the bench and see if we can get it figured out. All right, well, this is gonna be the end of part one of this little winch saga. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go in a little deeper and try and figure out, is the thing not getting enough power? I'll put it on the bench and see if I can get it to suck in, but I think we might have to save the rest of this for part two, or possibly just go buy another one. They're not even really that expensive. So anyways, just want to say thanks for coming along. Please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.